أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الرحمن علم القرآن خلق الإنسان علمه البيان. الشمس والقمر بحسبان والنجم والشجر يسجدان والسماء رفعها ووضع الميزان ألا تطغوا في الميزان وأقيموا الوزن بالقسط ولا تخسروا الميزان والأرض وضعها للأنام فيها فاكهة والنخل ذات الأكمام والحب ذو العصف والريحان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان خلق الإنسان من صلصال كالفخار وخلق الجان من مارج من نار فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان رب المشرقين ورب المغربين فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان صدق الله خالقنا المولانا العلي العظيم.
Assalamu alaikum and a very good evening to all. I'm Saira Nasir and I'm a fellow chartered accountant and I'm the host for this evening. First of all, I would like to thank all the participants because we have been joined by different countries, almost 16 countries, UAE, Canada, Australia, Sweden, Ireland, USA, Germany. So I'm very thankful to all the participants who have joined us. Okay, in today's session, we'll be discussing not only the skills required to be a leader, but also the aspects of personal grooming, which directly impacts your career growth. In business, individuals who exhibit leadership qualities can ascend to executive management or C-level positions such as COO or CEO. Before we embark on a formal discussion of the topic, I would like to invite Mrs. Hina Usmani, who's a council member and the chairperson of the CA Women Committee. Hina.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, everyone, and thank you very much for joining who are here in personally, especially our guest and our president, Mr. Iftikhar Saab. And I welcome all the audience who are available with us online. ये बड़ा एक इम्पॉर्टेंट टॉपिक हमने चूज़ किया है आज जो कि काफ़ी हमारे एजेंडा पे था फॉर अ लॉन्ग टाइम एंड बीइंग पुश्ड बाय एंड बीइंग इनकरेज्ड बाय द प्रेसिडेंट साहब कि इसको आप आगे लेके चलें डेफिनेटली दिट्स अ नीड ऑफ द टाइम सो वी हैव दिस यूनिक टॉपिक we have been talking about today और यकीनन आप लोग इससे बहुत you will learn a lot because this is the requirement like most of the people are on the leadership roles but they would like to understand how to groom themselves and the basic tips which we will be sharing with them regarding that. And we are looking forward to hearing from our experts, panel of experts today. And thank you very much, team. Thank you very much, everyone, for being with us and looking forward to have a very great session. Thank you.
Thank you, Hina. Okay, now I would like to invite Mr. Iftikhar Taj. Mr. Taj is a fellow member of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Pakistan. He has been serving as an elected council member since 2017 and has also served as vice president for the terms 2018 and 19. He has played a vital role in several ICAP committees, including investigation, marketing, IT, Committee on Fiscal Laws, Education and Training, Building Committee, PAIB Committee, and Practicing Members Committee, including boards, that is Digital Assurance and Accounting Board. Currently, he is working as a Director, Governance and Strategy at Crow Hussain Chaudhry & Co. He is also a technical advisor on PAIB Committee of International Federation of Accountants, New York. Mr. Taj is a governance practitioner with over 30 years of industry experience in financial services, fast-moving consumer goods, information technology, textile, media, advertising, and bulk drug manufacturing sectors. He has the experience of corporate world in both local and international markets. He has trained over 500 directors of listed companies on corporate governance in public and private sector, and the journey is on. Mr. Iftikhar Taj, please.
Assalamu alaikum ji, everyone. पहली चीज तो मैं ये क्लियर कर दूं, ये इंट्रोडक्शन मैंने नहीं लिख के दिया हुआ। मैं अपना इंट्रोडक्शन 3 लाइन से ज्यादा नहीं लिख के देता कभी भी, क्योंकि ना पहली लाइन की समझ आती है ना आखिरी की, और दरमियान में तो हमने सुनना ही नहीं होता और उसकी जरूरत भी नहीं होती। This is very important topic. I would like to congratulate Ms. Hina in particular and whole women committee who conceived this idea that they should be working in this area. This is most lacking area, at least among chartered accountants and accountants. We believe we know technical knowledge we have, and we have technical skills, we have technical expertise, so we are the best. We can be the best, yes, because we have the core knowledge whereby we can create value. But trust me, friends who are watching me online, that we need to do a lot. I give you my own example. Long back when I qualified, CA identified about 5-6 areas जो हमारे CA syllabus का हिस्सा नहीं थे, और उस वक्त की one of the best university उसके MBA का syllabus था, और वो आज भी है ऐसा ही। मुझे आज भी याद है उस वक्त business economics was one of the area, corporate finance, securities valuations, case studies, presentations. Then I attended series of courses at that university, spent a lot of money, rather I would say invested a lot of money, और sometime उसके 3 दिन के जो कोर्स होता था उसकी फी मेरी 1.5 माह की सैलरी के बराबर होती थी और एम्प्लॉयर नहीं देता था। But to me that was very important. 30 years after that, today even I can say these are very important areas. That's why I value it. अभी भी HR प्रोफेशनल्स के साथ जब हम बात करें, जब वो कैंडिडेट अपनी ओपिनियन शेयर करते हैं, एक बड़ी चीज वाज़ेह होती है कि आपकी जो सक्सेस है इन एनी इंटरव्यू, that depends about 60 to 70% upon your communication skill and your personality as a brand, other than your core skills. Everybody is a brand. आप कैसे ब्रांड हैं? आपने कहां अपने आप को पोजीशन करना है? आपकी परसेप्शन क्या है? आपकी पर्सनालिटी क्या होनी चाहिए लोगों की नजर में? ये आपको फैसला करना है, और इसी के लिए ये सारे कोर्सेज रिक्वायर्ड हैं। जब आप एक ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के अंदर एंटर होते हैं तो आपको अंदाजा हो जाता है लोगों को देख के बाय एंड लार्ज कि ये कौन सा प्रोफेशन होगा, ये इसकी ग्रूमिंग कैसी हुई होगी, सोशल ग्रूमिंग कैसी हुई होगी, पर्सनल ग्रूमिंग इसकी कैसी हुई है, प्रोफेशनल ग्रूमिंग कैसी हुई है, बिकॉज यू आर कैरिंग द वेट ऑफ सर्टेन ब्रांड्स ऑन योर शोल्डर्स। जितने लोग भी सीए कर रहे हैं, एक तो उनको कैरी करना है वेट और रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी अपनी फर्म्स की, जिस फर्म से वो सीए कर रहे हैं, और दूसरा सीए पाकिस्तान, दोनों को साथ लेके लोग आपको देखेंगे कि आप कैसे हैं, आपकी वॉक एंड टॉक कैसी है, आपकी ड्रेसिंग कैसी है। एक्सपेंसिव होना जरूरी नहीं। लाइक मैं अभी यहाँ इंटर हूँ तो मुझे थोड़ा अंदाजा हो गया कि अच्छा हु इज फ्रॉम विच प्रोफेशन, अंदाजा थोड़ा थोड़ा हो जाता है उसमें। मुनीजा इज एक्सेप्शन। या दैट इज अ कॉम्प्लीमेंट। ये जो प्रोग्राम है अभी हम इसको लैग कर रहे थे आईकैप के अंदर, ये प्रोग्राम हम इस तरह से लेकर नहीं चल रहे थे। कम्युनिकेशन पे तो काम किया एक टाइम पे। हमने 2013 में हमने पहला टोस्ट मास्टर क्लब बनाया विच इज ऑल अबाउट कम्युनिकेशन एंड लीडरशिप स्किल्स कॉम्पिटेंसेस, एंड देन वी क्रिएटेड मल्टीपल क्लब्स ऑफ टोस्ट मास्टर्स इन आईकैप। बट ये जो स्किल है ये बड़े इंपॉर्टेंट है। ये आपकी कमेटी ने जो कंसीव किया है ना, दिस इज नीड ऑफ द आवर। इसलिए मैं कहता था यार ये सिर्फ फीमेल्स के लिए ना करें, ट्रस्ट मी हमें भी जरूरत है इसकी, हमारा भी ख्याल करें, हम भी उतने ही डिजर्विंग है इस मामले में। तो वो जो यूनिवर्सिटी टच है जो हमारे पास नहीं होता, वो मल्टीपल उन्होंने प्रेजेंटेशन वहां करनी होती है, एक मिक्सअप होता है, एक डिफरेंट एनवायरमेंट होता है, वो हम लैक करते हैं यहाँ पे। और एक लीडर के लिए वो बड़ा इंपॉर्टेंट है। और लीडर वो होता है जो लीड करते हैं एक या एक से ज्यादा बंदों को। हमारे प्रोफेशन में कोई ऐसा बंदा नहीं है जिसने लीड नहीं करना, मगर मोस्ट ऑफ द टाइम देखते हैं कि उनको ये एहसास ही नहीं होता कि लीड तो वो उन्होंने करना है, लीडरशिप क्वालिटीज डेमोस्ट्रेट भी करती हैं। उनको अच्छा कोच भी होना चाहिए, अच्छा मेंटोर भी होना चाहिए, उनको कॉम्पिटेंसेस आइडेंटिफाई करने का हुनर भी आना चाहिए, उनको कम्युनिकेशन भी आनी चाहिए, अपना मैसेज भी कन्वे कर सकते हो दूसरों तक इन अ पोलाइट मैनर। तो ये सारी चीजें बहुत बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है। आई वॉज लुकिंग एट द स्पीकर्स प्रोफाइल, इट्स अमेजिंग, इट्स अमेजिंग। पहले तो मैंने सोचा यार ये चार्टर्ड अकाउंट तो कोई भी नहीं बुलाया इन्होंने। जैसे जैसे मैंने डिटेल पढ़नी शुरू की और थोड़ा लिंक्डइन पे भी जाके देखा, तो फिर मैंने कहा इन्होंने ठीक किया हुआ है, ये तो बहुत अच्छे लोग बुला लिए, यहाँ तो बैठना चाहिए, सीखना चाहिए, सुनना चाहिए। मैं आज यहाँ ना भी होता तो मैं ऑनलाइन जरूर सुन रहा होता, क्योंकि आई एम श्योर इट विल गिव मी वेरी यूनिक काइंड ऑफ लर्निंग व्हाट इज लीडरशिप, क्या करना चाहिए। हमारा क्वेश्चन बेसिकली हमारे माइंड में हर वक्त ये होता है कि यस लीडरशिप इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, ये कॉम्पिटेंसेस बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट हैं, कौन सी कॉम्पिटेंसेस चाहिए वो भी पता होता है, स्टार्ट कहां से लें, दैट्स वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट। एंड बाकी इसकी इंपॉर्टेंस कितनी है। हम ऐसे ही एक स्लोगन के तौर पे कहते हैं कि ये एक ब्रांड होता है हर इंसान, एवरीबॉडी इज यूनिक, ये वाकई होता है। और अकाउंटिंग प्रोफेशन में तो मैं आपको बड़ा क्लियरली कह सकता हूं, जिस मार्केट की आप ब्रांड है उस मार्केट में तो आप ऑपरेट ही नहीं करते। आप तो अगर एक एम्प्लॉयर के पास चले जाते हैं, वहीं रुक जाते हैं और समझते हैं वही मार्केट है, हालांकि मार्केट तो नेक्स्ट एम्प्लॉयर्स है हमेशा। तो आई एम श्योर आज बहुत सारी इसमें डिस्कशंस होंगी, और प्लीज आप सबको मेरी सजेशन है, नोट्स लें इसके अपने पास, और नोट्स लेने में कोई मुजायका नहीं है। Yesterday I was in a meeting conference with Finance Minister Shaukat Tareen was there, and trust me, when I was talking about certain things, he was taking notes and then he was referring. Being a finance minister, being such a senior banker, he was taking notes. क्योंकि हम सुन क्यों रहे हैं अदरवाइज? बोलते तो हम वो हैं जो हमें पता है, सुनने का मकसद ही है कि कुछ ना कुछ उसमें लर्न हो, या सुनने से होगा या पढ़ने से होगा, तो वो तो कुछ है ही नहीं। तो नोट्स जरूर लें अपने। और एक स्पेशल रिक्वेस्ट मेरी कमेटी से भी होगी कि हम वर्कशॉप्स और इस तरह के सेमिनार्स वेबिनार्स करते हैं, इसकी इनसाइट्स भी उसके साथ पब्लिश करें, ताकि जो लोग नहीं अटेंड कर सके उनको भी पता हो, और अदरवाइज भी हमारा एक नॉलेज क्रिएशन जो है विद इन आईकैप वो होती जाएगी इवेंचुअली, जो हम सबको फायदा होगा। With that, I don't want to take much of your time. I am too keen to listen to all the speakers, and I'm grateful that you are devoting your time for the young generation and to develop them, groom them. Thanks a lot. Thank you very much.
Club.
Thank you, Iftikhar Sir, for your kind words. Effective leaders have the ability to communicate well, motivate their team, handle and delegate responsibilities, listen to feedbacks, and have the flexibility to solve problems in an ever-changing workplace. Whether you are starting out in an entry-level position and looking to move up the career ladder, or you are seeking a promotion, your leadership skills will be amongst your most valuable assets. To build upon this, we have a legend from the corporate world, Mr. Zafar Khan. Mr. Zafar Khan, who is the recipient of Sitara Imtiaz and has marked his career with eminent achievements, Mr. Khan graduated as a mechanical engineer and soon thereafter joined Exxon, which following an employee-led buyout became known as Engro. He took the company to new heights during his 35 years of service, the last 6 years of which he served as the CEO. Thereafter, he served as chairman of PTCL, Karachi Stock Exchange, and Pakistan International Airlines. He also completed his advanced management program for University of Hawaii and also undertook various courses from Harvard Business School and INSEAD. Currently, Mr. Khan is an adjunct professor at IBA, where he teaches human resource management and is serving on various boards in public and private sector. Before I invite Mr. Zafar Khan, we would like to open a poll. And I would like all the participants to vote, and we will be discussing the results of the poll after Zafar Khan's present. But in fact, Zafar Khan will be summing up the results of the poll. So please, time to vote. And let this vote be open for 10 minutes. And Zafar Khan, please, I would like to. Yes, sir.
Iftikhar Taj Sahab, Hina Usmani, ladies and gentlemen and ladies from around the world who are listening in, I gather it's a very sizable audience we have, but we also have a few here, thank God for that, so I can have some eye contact and feel the audience. I just want to start by really saying that I truly feel honored to have been invited to come and speak from the ICAP platform. I always have had a very high impression of ICAP and the people who come from this institute. So the topic is leadership. More specifically, honing leadership skills. But I would really right at the outset like to say that I don't claim to be an expert on leadership. It's too complex. Human behavior, too many variables, too many vagaries to be able to combine it all and to be able to express it and explain it. But having said that, I will say that I have been in positions of leadership, and in the process, I saw the careers of many, many people develop and grow to leadership positions. So what I can do for you is that I'm very happy to share my learnings and my experience from the leadership positions that I've had. And basically, the idea is that you may find something beneficial in your journey and your quest for leadership. So that's really how I'd like to set it up. I have a formal presentation. I was quite happy making it, and I hope it comes through as well as I tried to when I was trying to put it together. Okay, I'll start with the definition of what is leadership. And this definition, I want to make it very clear, is not out of a textbook. This is a definition that I thought about it, and I put it together from my own experience of what I think leadership is. Now, it'll have a little bias And the bias is it's leadership in the corporate world, because that's my background. I've spent over 5 decades with the corporate world. So let me kind of show you the definition I put together. Now, each word I gave it some thought, so I'd like to just take a little moment to read it out to you. Getting results, driving change, motivating and developing people, and displaying character. And I put a little asterisk. We all say character display vagara. I just wanted to remind everyone, character shows up in difficult times. Otherwise, we all say, ye bhi theek hai, sach bolo, ye bhi karo. When you are in a bind, when you're in a difficult situation, that's how when you behave, your true character comes out. So these points, I think, from my experience, substantially encompass this whole game of being a leader. Now, as I said, I was privileged to have worked with hundreds of MBAs and chartered accountants and engineers over my career. And in so doing, when I reflect back, what really influenced their success in their career? How did it all pan out for them? So I could pick 4 things for you. I tried to keep it simple and just very briefly make mention of them. The first one are your genes. This is your DNA. This is your gift from your parents. This is your seed capital. This is what you start off with. And it underpins your IQ. It comes through the genes. मेरा ये belief है, IQ आप inherit करते हैं. Develop थोड़ा बहुत मेहनत करके, maybe it'll go up a bit here or there, but fundamentally it comes through the genes. So your genes. Now, since I'm here in ICAP and addressing people who belong to this institute, I am absolutely confident this should not be a worry for you, because all of you would not be an ICAP if you didn't have the requisite IQ. So it's taken care for you. The second factor is experience. And what I mean by experience is when you're growing up, the interactions that you have with your parents, with your siblings, in your school, with your friends, later with your colleagues, all the interactions that you have and the things that you are doing together, having fun, dealing with issues, etc., those sorts of experiences actually shape your personality. Your inner personality as well as what appears externally to people. So experience comes with exposing yourself, interacting, moving around, taking some risks, getting out of your comfort zone. These sorts of things give you an opportunity to build an experience. And that experience shapes your personality, which, as Iftikhar Saab said, when you walk in, you meet some people, थोड़ी देर के अंदर आपको उनकी personality जो है, ये reflect करना शुरू कर देती है. And it's all driven from that experience that you build from childhood up. So that's the second factor. The third factor I have put down is effort. You may be super smart, but if you're not going to put in the effort, chances are you won't achieve your potential. You won't go very far. Effort ka koi mol nahi. You have to put effort. So that is a factor. And I'm talking now of people building their careers, right? So people putting in the effort to kind of do something and take themselves forward. So effort is the third factor. And the fourth factor I placed here is luck. What do I mean by luck? Being at the right place, at the right time, being in situations that are favorable to you, that happen. So they do have an impact. We've seen it in life. बेचारा कोई गलत जगह पे गलत टाइम पे था, मारा गया, और गलत अच्छे टाइम पे कहीं था और उसकी जिंदगी बन गई. तो luck does play a part. However, इस पे the one saying that I heard, and I always quote it because I really liked it, it comes from a sports person. And he said, the harder I try, the luckier I get. The harder I try, the luckier I get. So now if you just kind of take a stock of this, the first one is not in your control because you inherit it. It's not controllable. The second and the third one is very much in your control. You allow yourselves to get experiences, take some risks in life, move around in life, put in the effort. These are all within your control, and they will shape your career prospects. The fourth one is kind of a bit 50-50, partially in your control. But if you take the sportsman's analogy and believe in it, then you try a little harder, तो ये luck भी उसके साथ improve हो जाती. So having said that, as was said in the introduction, in my later life, which is the current life, I've been teaching at IBA. So I had actually prepared this chart to teach my students about performance management. देखें, at the end of the day, if you are developing, you're on your corporate journey, you're building a career, one important thing that plays a role is performance management. Most institutions have some form of performance management. But here what I want to point your attention to is that there are two distinct aspects of performance management. इसको appreciate करें आप जरा. One is an assessment of what has been achieved in the past. आप ये टारगेट था, ये गोल था, ये सेल्स का था, ये अकाउंटिंग का था, ये ऑडिट का था, जो भी था, that target, how well did you do it? Did you do it on time, within budget, blah, blah, blah? That's something that's happened in the past. That assessment is made, and your performance is judged on that to one extent. There is a second assessment that happens, and the second assessment looks at the future. So if you are today, if you see that today, if I look this way, I'm looking at the past. If I'm looking the other way, I'm looking at the future. There, what's happening is we are trying to make a judgment of how far this person is likely to progress in the future life. It's a judgment, it's subjective. It's not like the other one, which is objective. Targets meet ho gaya, ye ho gaya, wo ho gaya. This is subjective. But कोई माने ना न माने, organizations के अंदर जिसमें अच्छी organizations में performance management होती है, and they subconsciously, if they don't do the future one, they build it into the first one. But I worked my career in a company called Engro. Most of you are aware of it. I want to tell you, we had these two very distinct assessments. Every employee of the company, management employee of the company, was given a performance number and separately on another day, a potential number. So what happens then is, on this one, you get your increments, your bonuses. On that one, you get your promotions, your future career rotations, and your career development. So I want you to be conscious and aware that when you are in an organization, people are looking at both these aspects, what you've achieved and are achieving, and what is your potential to deliver, and that has an influence. Now, so how do you do, then the logical question would be, कि ये potential को आपने assessment को इतनी बात की है, how do you actually do this? This is a little bit of art, a little bit of science. And what I have listed here is, again, not from a book. This is what I use, what I practiced for the many years that either I was the CEO or I was in a position to make this judgment about people. It's a huge responsibility. You know, you're trying to determine the future of somebody. उसको आप मार भी सकते हैं और उसको grow भी कर सकते हैं. But what are the factors? So quite honestly, this was my mental checklist as I would look at a candidate to assess his future potential. The top of the list is IQ. Of course, I want somebody to have some basic. I'm not talking of an Einstein. Talking of somebody having an average to above average IQ. Itna hona chahiye. Second, application of IQ. What does that mean? I just told you, you can be super smart, but if you don't apply yourself, so what good is that super high IQ of yours? How is it going to benefit you, me, or your company? So the application of IQ is also exceeding. So it's people who take initiative, who are good at organizing and planning, it all shows up with application of IQ. The first one is the grasp, how quickly he or she can grasp something, their analytical skills, their problem-solving skills, those all show up in the first one. Third, which in my view is exceedingly important, is the EQ, which is often the emotional quotient. And emotional quotient is a very wide subject. I'm sure in your libraries also there'll be books and books on EQ. I would urge you to look at them if you haven't already. It talks about everything, jaise Iftikhar Sahab ne bhi abhi kaha, your communication skills, your interpersonal, people-related skills, your ability to give empathy, your ability to help, your ability to handle bad news and take stress, keep control of yourself. All of these things, and there's a laundry list of things, they make up EQ. Or there is plenty of research available that you can Google for sure, where people say if you look at the leadership, for leadership, EQ is more important than IQ. As somebody said, IQ got me through school. EQ gets me through life and positions of leadership, therefore, that go with it. So that's the third important factor that we would consider when assessing somebody's potential. Fourth is performance track record. You can't run away from that. If somebody is not delivering year after year, how can you say he's high potential because he's very smart or his speaking skills are very charming and this, that, the other? That won't work. At least in the corporate world, it won't work. So performance track record ko bhi consider karna padta hai. It's important element. Fourth is mobility. And what do I mean by mobility? This is, again, I would say an important point. Moving from the job that you are doing, the field in which you are, having the stomach and the desire to do different things. Move out and do a few other things as well. So if you move around, and geographic mobility. When you are out, because it'll take you out of your comfort zone. If you are out of your comfort zone, you are bound to learn. Aapka phir learning jari rehti hai. If you get in your comfort zone, ये तो अब आता ही आता है. अब मुझे पता है audit कैसे होगा, हर साल है, balance sheet देखेंगे, ये देखेंगे, tax law follow हुआ, ये हुआ, वो. Oh, after a few years, there's hardly any challenge left in that for you. You will do a good job, maybe very sound job, but आपकी learning खत्म हो जाएगी. So mobility is exceedingly important for people who want to aspire because it does one other thing. It develops your networks. आप इधर से उधर गए, उधर भी आपकी जान पहचान के बने, इधर भी बने. Networks in life also matter. I'll give you a small example from my own career, not trying to say anything big, but in Engro, I was head of marketing. In Engro, I was head of manufacturing. In Engro, I was head of finance, believe it or not. I had no financial degrees. And in Engro, I was head of corporate services. Why? Why was I going through all of this? I guess now in hindsight, what I think my bosses were trying to develop me. They were giving me exposure to these different fields. So when I became a CEO, I had comfort that I could interact and deal with. Some of those people in those divisions had worked for me. I was aware of some of the key issues that were simmering there, how they were dealt with. So point is mobility. If you want, if you can either then be a technical expert and stay in your own field and go really deep. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. But if you want to be a leader of people, deal with a whole variety of things, then try to take rotation, and that will develop you. Next is appetite for risk. वही बात है, risk taking नहीं करेंगे आप तो learning थोड़ी कम होगी. Risk taking करेंगे आप, you'll be out of your comfort zone. Learning बढ़ती है और उससे experience मिलता है आपको, which comes to happen. So people who are very safe, they will not take a chance. Everything has to be black and white before they decide. I don't know if I would rate them very high for those leadership positions. They'll probably get a very good in the performance, that other chart that I showed you. Futuristic में जरा सा question हो जाता है. And finally, time available. What that means is, if you're in your late 50s, अब आपका engine अभी चालू हुआ है. I'm sorry, you've almost run out of time. कितना आप develop कर सकोगे, because retirement is right around the corner. So this has to happen at the right time. Maybe not in the 20s because people have other things on their minds, but 30s, you should be in it. You should be working to address all of these things and do some of the things. Okay, so this was about potential, sorry. Now, so just a little bit, I want to sum this up by saying that since I'm standing here speaking to you, I thought I'll be a bit, reflect on my own life and say a few things that I think worked for me to get me whatever little I achieved in life. First of all, I placed the company's interest above self. As best as I can say, as honestly as I can say, this used to be my motto. I really thought well of my company, really did. And I happened to be, in my younger days, I lived for a whole year in Japan, working with a Japanese company, and I realized the importance of loyalty. Kya loyalty thi wahan pe? How devoted they were to their companies, how hugely well they thought of their company. It impacted me. And I felt that way towards my company, which was primarily Exxon Engro, for the years that I worked with them. Always showed mobility. I mentioned that to you. I worked in Rahim Yar Khan. I worked in Houston, Texas. I worked in Hong Kong. I worked in Dharki. I worked in Singapore. Jidhar bheja kabhi na nahi kiya. I said, I will go. Persuaded my wife sometimes, agar jagah mushkil thi, कि चलो career है, I'm a corporate guy, you have to come, we'll take the good with the bad. ये करना पड़ता है. So I did that. Moved around. Whether it was assignment or geography, moved. Moved my children, their schooling, everything. जो भी है. Third, as I said, diversity of jobs challenged me. It developed, expanded my horizon and interest. देखिए एक दफा आप एक चीज करना शुरू कर देते हैं, then if you see something about it in a newspaper, you'll read it because you can relate with it somehow, right? So this is what happens if you broaden your interest, तो आपका फिर interest बढ़ता जाता है. And then the networks that you develop, वगैरह, they always come in handy in life. I worked well with people. This is what my bosses used to tell me. वो annual appraisal होती थी, तो कुछ तारीफ करते हैं, कुछ मार भी पड़ती, criticism भी मिलती है. So one of the good things I used to always get is, you work well with people. Okay, good. So I'm happy. I accept that. I recognize the importance of communication. Communication is very important. You might be whatever you are, whatever package you are. If you cannot communicate and you cannot do, अब कितने लोग आपका inner समझ जाएंगे या patience है उनके पास. आपकी जो टॉप ब्रास है, आप बोर्डरूम में आपको ले आए, अब वहाँ पे you do a good presentation and say something nice, and later we'll hear your appearance, your personality, your communication, वो बात याद रह जाएगी उनको, so and so. So later when your chance comes for some big ticket job, that will be what will be recalled. They'll look at other things also, but it's important. And finally, for my own conscience, I tried my best to stand up for merit and fair play. And I was most challenged on this aspect when I was chairman of PIA. For that 1 year, as I say, for my sins that I was chairman of PIA, I constantly felt under pressure to protect these two principles, कि merit होना चाहिए और fair play होना चाहिए. So these are some of the things that I think worked for me. I'm one example. There are hundreds of people. They'll have something similar or maybe dissimilar, but it's just to give you a flavor of one example. Now, how much time have I taken? Because I want to be sure I don't overrun. 15 minutes, huh? Okay. So then I sat down and I put together, reflecting back, some observations on leadership from looking back over my life and my work experience. So these are some points, and I have 3 slides on this. This is slide number 1. A leader or CEO does not have to be a genius or even the best in smarts. I don't think I was ever say that, oh, I was the smartest guy in the company, therefore I became the CEO. No, nonsense. There were many smart people, much smarter. I could see they were sharper IQ, quicker on the grasp. But एक छोटा कोटा what I said, एक threshold के ऊपर तो IQ होना चाहिए, वरना फिर थोड़ा problem हो जाएगा. But so I wanted to just say, CEO does not have to be a genius. Second most important thing is, but must be a fortress of values. Up CEO, you're a leader, you're in charge of people. They'll look up to you for protecting the values of ethics, integrity, whatever are the values that the company wants to promote, teamwork, fair play. So you must be a fortress of values. Because, and I've already made the point that values really get tested in difficult times. आसान वक्त पे सब कह देंगे हाँ जी हाँ हमारा भी ये value है, पर जब real test आता है फिर पता चलता है. Second point, never lose sight of the big picture. I think Iftikhar Sahab, you also mentioned the vision that organizations have vision. Some are very formally developed, some are informal, but एक vision होता है, it's a direction. So you, as a leader, being inspired by the vision versus just doing a job. Somebody had mentioned, given this to me as an example, which I liked. He said, maybe it's quite famous. He goes to a construction site and he sees some people laying bricks. So he asked the worker, what are you doing? He said, yeah, I'm laying bricks. Fair? Gave a right answer. Then there was another worker. He asked him, tum kya kar rahe ho? He said, I'm building a wall. Oh, so if he's building a wall, he's thinking beyond just laying that brick. He wants the wall to be straight, this, that, the other. And then he goes to a third worker and says, what is it that you're doing? And he says, oh, I'm building a palace. So the attitude of the worker changes if he knows what the vision is. You make people aware of what the big picture is. What is it that we are trying to achieve? Now, this is what a leader does. He tells the people, this is where we are going. This is the benefit of it. Sirf eent nahi lagani hai. We are building a palace. We are building a country. We are building a company, etc. So buying for the vision. And then finally on this one is, when you are a junior in the organization, there is an expectation that you will work in the system. Rules bane, systems or processes. However, when you rise and you go to senior level, you have to get out of that mode and you have to start working on the system. So you transition from being in the system to being on the system. And by so doing, you try to bring improvements, you have the big picture, vision in your mind, and you try to do things that will lift the organization and the people working therein. As of this point, I won't elaborate further. I've already said leadership requires a good dose of EQ in your personality. interpersonal skills, communication skills to deal with stress वगैरह वगैरह. So I won't dwell on this because I think I've already said enough. Now, another point Iftikhar Sahab also made that I'd like to also emphasize is this one, managing people. आपके साथ लोग काम कर रहे हैं. Lot of people say, यार मेरा काम ये है, मुझे ये करना है, ये तो है मुझे help करने के लिए. No. As a leader, you have to spend your time solving their problems, hearing their issues, and doing things to help them, to develop, to facilitate them. This is the job of a leader. How much time should he spend on the real classical crux of the job? How much time should he spend on working with his people and developing the people to do things? The juries be out on that. I would say कम से कम 50-50 तो होना चाहिए. कम से कम 50-50 तो होना चाहिए. And so when we say working with people, it's selecting the right ones, then motivating them. How do you motivate? That's a whole new subject. And then finding ways to develop them. And encouraging teamwork all the way. Teamwork, 1 + 1 is not 2. In this case, 1 + 1 becomes a much bigger number. So a leader realizes that. You make these things happen. And my third slide is to just say that being at the top is tough. It's tough also because it's lonely. You cannot get too pally with your senior staff all over. किसी के साथ आपने ज़्यादा pally हो गए तो आपको problem होगा. Because people are watching everything you do. And then they feel, oh, ये favoritism हो गया, ये हो गया. Be fair, be nice to everybody, but do not sort of cozy up too much with 1 or 2 people because that usually doesn't work too well. But it's also lonely because you are there by yourself. And then I've put down here this 10-9-0 rule. This is also one I heard some time back. I like it, so I often quote it. What is the 10-9-0 rule? Does anyone know here? No, so then I can repeat it. The 10-9-0 rule is you get a problem and you make a decision. Okay? And that decision is sorry, how does that? I've forgotten the rule. I liked it so much, I've forgotten the rule. So you get a problem, you take a decision, and you give yourself marks on that decision. So you do a good decision, you get 10 marks. If you do a decision which didn't work out quite the way you wanted, you get 9 marks. But if you don't make a decision, you get a 0. So the point it emphasizes is कि फैसले आपको करने पड़ते हैं as a leader. You will make mistakes. You will be operating in the gray zone. देखें अगर एक चीज black and white है, तो उसमें फैसला क्या करना है आपको? ये white है, ये black है. I mean, anybody can do it, right? So this in life, unfortunately, we don't always get a black and white situation. There's so many grays. What if? What that? I don't know this. ये क्या होगा? वो क्या? But आपको फैसला करना है. Because if you don't make a decision, you get a 0. So dealing with mistakes and learning, not to blame. This is another quality of a good leader is he will not blame his subordinates. And इसकी जो expression है, a good leader takes half the credit. अच्छा काम हो गया, he takes only half the credit. खराब हो गया, he takes twice the blame. So you are in a team, you're working with your people. That's the mindset you should have. Give as much credit as you can to your subordinates. That's a good leader will do that. Take as much of the blame if things go wrong as you can. That's a sign of a good leader. Cultivating healthy work habits. I put down abiding by the company rules. If you're in a formal corporate sector, then these things become important. जहाँ हजारों लोग हैं, अगर आप rules नहीं follow करेंगे, then it'll be like the Karachi traffic. जिसका दिल चाहे जिधर से घुस गया निकल गया, ठीक? So you have to follow certain rules. And by the way, you are the role model. आपको एहसास नहीं होगा कि आप इधर से उधर गए, कितने लोगों ने आपको ऑब्जर्व किया, whether you followed the rule or you did not follow the rule. And they quote it, it's the dining room discussion, it's the corridor discussion. Yeah, कहने को कुछ है, खुद जब करते हैं तो ये करते हैं. So you have to be the role model, follow that. And the importance of work-life balance, I trust we'll hear some more on this from our two distinguished speakers here later on. Because, if you have a good work-life balance, you are a happier person. And it shows that if you are happy, it shows in your work, in your attitude. So try to strike that. जो बिल्कुल ही काम के लकीर के फकीर पड़ जाते हैं और अपने घर का भी बेड़ा गर्क कर देते हैं, relationship with wife and children भी उड़ा के रख देते हैं, it shows up in their personality, it shows up somewhere. So strike that balance. And now finally, in this day and age, of course, the power of gender balance. I'm so happy that I think Pakistan is making progress. Hina, I don't know whether I asked you this question, but I've been following this very closely. I'm a great proponent of bringing the women up because they're 50% of our talent, and they, at least in IBA, half my students are at least girls, and they are frankly the better students. So why are we not bringing them to the fore and allowing them to fully participate? So as a leader, it's something I wanted you to keep in mind, that you promote this as well. Few things, I'm just towards the end now. Few things that I would caution you against, because they're like poison. And these three things, from my experience, I would say is greed. Too much, you want too much too quickly, you don't deserve it. Envy, you can't stand someone else succeeding. इसकी तो पैर खींचो, इसको गिराओ नीचे, ये कैसे मेरे से आगे निकल रहा है? And third is me, मैं, I. These three things, they can hurt you a lot, believe me. And I've written down here, internally there is stress because you can't handle these factors. They burn you up. And externally it gets noticed. Invariably it'll get noticed. And it'll cause resentment, and in extreme cases, even dislike. People say, I dislike this person. For what reason? Oh, perhaps one of these. And now my last slide. For whatever I've said, I just want to close with this last one, and that is always, excuse me, always be ready for change. And I've picked a quotation here from a famous social scientist or a scientist, Darwin, because iske lafz aap aur se agar padhein aur sunein, it means something. It says it's not the strongest. You can be a super strong guy, nor the most intelligent, but those who are responsive to change. तो ये बात वो डायनासोर से शुरू हो जाती है. How big and huge they were. किधर गए? क्या हुआ? So you have to be willing to change. Always be ready and willing to change, because change hoega every day. As we are here, changes are happening. Because status quo position, if you're just holding status quo, they will over time cause elimination. This is a proven fact. I mean, there's so many examples. Business schools, there are a lot of examples that are taught to people of how status quo eliminated companies and businesses and people. Change entails risk-taking, but also provides an opportunity. So you have to have that little spark in you to kind of step out and try and reach out for something that's just a little beyond your comfort zone. Risk-taking is an integral part of business. And by the way, risk-taking differs from gambling. I'm not saying कि आप कल जाके और ऐसा risk लें कि आपका या क्या तख्त या तख्ता. No, that's not what we are saying. But take risks, think about it, take some measures to minimize the consequences if it goes wrong, because some things will go wrong. But if you don't do it, you will not learn anything. You will not grow. So you have to be prepared you should have that sort of a mindset. So these are just a few things from my 50 years of engagement with the corporate world that I summed up. I hope that some, not everything, but some part of it will ring a bell with some of you and may help you, as I said, pursue your quest for leadership. Later, if there are questions, of course, I'd be happy to answer. Thank you very much for your attention. Oh, okay. Yes. So yes, there was this poll, and we just want to see how that panned out. First one, coaching and developing others to succeed in their roles and prepare them for future roles. How important is it for a leader? It says 13%, right? I think you heard me say, at least it should be 50%. Huh? This is the polling result. Huh? Before, I'm reacting to it. Na? So I'm saying, यहाँ पे इन्होंने कहा है कि it. Yeah, acha, all of the above. Okay. And then it's saying facilitating others by making things easier for them. 1%. Okay. So 1% is disagreeing then. Okay, so that's pretty good then. If that is how it is, then that's pretty good. Vision, we talked about it, related to strategy, having a complete picture of where they are heading and its importance. Only 7% people think it's not so, right? That if I've understood it, 93% are saying yes. Is that right? I see. Okay, so I will do the 100 by saying 80 ने कहा ये सब important है, 13 ने जो है वो उधर क्या ठीक है, और वो 13 plus 7 20 तकरीबन 100 हो गया वो. अच्छा, ठीक है. So I think by this token there's a very good realization that these things are important. They're essential part, and I hope in the comments and examples that I gave, I really emphasized. I didn't know what the poll results were going to be, that these are important things in life. And so good. So you have a mindset of people who will. हाँ, बिल्कुल. पहले से ही थे. पहले से ही थे या पहले से. They thought कि यही बोलेगा. Okay. Thank you very much. Okay. Whenever.
Thank you, Zafar. Is it better? Right. Thank you, Zafar Saab, for your very enlightening presentation. It was really very good. After this engaging session, how many of you think you got what it takes to get an edge over others in your organization? Well, to polish your potentials more, we have for you an interesting discussion led by expert stylist. In this personal grooming session, we'll be talking about the secrets that directly impact your career growth. So let's hear from the experts how we can conduct ourselves better amid the daily corporate challenges. Okay, Sana, why don't you get your panel up? Okay, we have with us Shayan Malik, CEO of Samanzar. Shayan was the ex-convener of FPCCI Standing Committee for Women Entrepreneurs and is a super accomplished entrepreneur herself, an international award winner and pioneer of Pakistan fashion industry. She has been the trailblazer for uplifting the emerging talent by establishing vocational training centers and acquiring small business loans from financial institutions for women empowerment. Throughout her career, she has owed herself to constant endorsement of women empowerment and still winning hearts with her philanthropic work, Save Our Children Foundation, an organization for education and rehabilitation of street and out-of-school children. She is currently appointed as Qualification Development Expert for Entrepreneurship by NAVTTC, headquarters to develop national competency-based curriculum for entrepreneurs trade. Then we have Razik Ismail Khan, with his cosmopolitan exposure to, taking the hospitality industry to a whole new level of excellence. Mr. Khan has been associated with Koel Cafe, has currently partnered with PS Solutions, one of Pakistan's leading PR firms. He is also touching lives by being a member of a number of charitable organizations, including Save Our Children Foundation, Imkan Foundation, and PRIDA. Joining them as ICAP representatives are Sana Kadri. She is an associate member of ICAP. Mesa Sana is an experienced process improvement and IFRS expert and a digital solution enthusiast. She has worked with prestigious organizations in senior positions, including Chief Financial Officer, and has been associated with financial service industry for over 10 years now. Just recently, she took the role of entrepreneur and started an EdTech by the name of EdWatch, which aims to provide a complete personality development solution with uninterrupted career progress to the workforce. Then we have Mr. Shahid Hussain, who is also an associate member of ICAP and is presently working as head of internal audit at ICAP. Shahid has over 15 years of experience related to audit and control, taxation and finance. During this tenure, he has worked with AF Ferguson's and a network firm of PwC, Silk Bank and National Foods Limited. During last 10 years, he served in leadership role and contributed towards the controls of National Foods. Then we have Mansab Javed. Mansab Javed has been working as finance business partner at ICI Pakistan in chemicals and agri-sciences business since February 2021. Mansab is a qualified chartered accountant and is currently a level 1 candidate for CFA. He has also been awarded a distinction in cost accounting. Prior to ICI Pakistan, Mansab was associated with PwC Pakistan as assistant manager, where he was involved in numerous valuation and due diligence assignments. We now open the floor to give you an, we open the floor to Sana and
Thank you, Saira. Thank you, Saira. Thank you very much for joining us, Razik and Shayan. And thank you very much, Shahid and Mansab. So basically, just to give you an introduction, as Iftikhar Saab already told you. Okay. Yeah. Are we there?
Keep on talking.
Can I start? Okay. So as Iftikhar Saab initially in his address already said that we as chartered accountants and many of the professionals in Pakistan, as we know. Yeah, can we start? Okay. So as we know that many of us professionals are very much, we have understanding of the technical area that we have already learned throughout our, universities and colleges and as in chartered accountants in our REITs and the firm that we are working with. The area that we struggle with is basically how to carry ourselves. Now we have been talking about emotional intelligence, as Zafar Saab mentioned, and there is the social intelligence people are talking about these days. So there's a lot of talks on these things these days, and the area that we struggle with is again, how to carry ourselves as professionals who step into the professional life and then become leaders. So CA Women has actually brought the 8 people who can actually who are the experts in this areas, the stylists who can help us with this question. And so my first question to you, Shayan, is that what is the role of appearance in a professional's, corporate professional's life?
It's extremely important, which I'm sure everybody knows. And when you dress for success, you dress for the role that you actually want to play. And your appearance is so important that when you enter into a room, you already tell a story. You might not realize this, but your story has started before you even open your mouth to speak. So it's a good idea to be well-groomed, well-dressed. And the confidence that you exude when you are well dressed actually translates onto the person who you are meeting. Your confidence in your personality carries forward. So these are things which one really has to look at. It might be your first appearance or it can be your 50th appearance. Appearance is very, very important. And you yourself decide that what is the story that you would like to tell. It can be anything that you want, but definitely in a leadership role, you have to acknowledge this, and you can be highly intelligent. All CAs we know are very intelligent people, but at the same time, when you have this with you, which goes hand in hand, you are on to your leadership success in the future.
So basically, your personality gives you a story to others.
Yes, your appearance, because that's what people look at. It's the visual that you would like to create about yourself. So it's good to have a good visual, whatever you want. It's your choice, but it has to be your choice. Don't leave it up to just, okay, today I'm feeling, I've just rolled out of bed and I'm coming to work, because it's going to have an effect on what people are going to think about you.
Can I add on to that, just as an analogy? Being associated with the food industry for about 30 years, when we go to a restaurant, how do we start eating without looking? We first get the food, we like it or not like it when we look at it. Then we smell the food, then we eat the food. We have made up our mind when we look at something, and when the smell, the aroma is good and all. That's exactly, we are all exactly like we are products when it comes to an organization and you're entering a room or you are in a group. So I think what Shayan is saying is absolutely on point, that the audience will make up its mind the minute you enter, and they would at least halfway. And then there are other factors that kick in.
And there's something which is on a little lighter note, which I want to add, because when I was growing up, and these things have an influence on you. When I was growing up, a very dear friend's mother, she was our role model. She was so beautiful and she was always well dressed, and she had, different shoes and bags for everything. And once she was talking to us on a birthday party, and she said, I never let my husband see me when I get up from sleep. I make sure that I've gone and put on my lipstick and whatever, comb my hair. It has had a great impact, because I also now sort of believe in that you don't want people to see you in just a natural state. So this is just something light which I'm sharing. But I think when Zafar Saab spoke about growing up and the experiences that you have, these are experiences that make your personality.
Thank you very much for sharing this experience. I think.
I would like to ask you a question. So basically, this is something that I struggle with. Leadership to dur ki baat hai. I'm just a junior and qualified recently. So my first step out of my comfort zone was giving interviews, actually. So recently I gave many interviews, and what I struggled with was my confidence. So this led me to a few questions. Is it about the way I dress? Is it about whatever I wear and how I carry it? Or is it just a mental state and all of that? So what is your point of view about it? Is what you wear really matters, or is how you carry it actually matters? So what's your take on that?
Yeah, great question. And especially when the young population, when you're at that stage of life, when you're going in for interviews, and that carries on throughout the corporate career anyways, but this is something very relevant. But before that, let me please clarify, I'm not a stylist. I've worked in the corporate field in senior positions for 35 years. I do have a PR company. We do style management as an organization, but I cannot be taken as a stylist. And whatever I'm saying is as Zafar had mentioned, is based out of my own experiences and what my learnings were, and what and learnings are not only about success, it's also about what didn't work. So in every situation, you should be learning about what works and what doesn't work. So to answer your question, because I've, again, in the 36 years of having those positions and being in those positions, the experiences for me, कि यार सबसे important चीज is if we are talking interviews, is plan for it. Don't just jump into something without being, so when you're planning, you will be thinking, okay, why am I going there? Majority of the people from this institute, they have the qualification. And again, I would quote Zafar again, there is no question about IQ right now over there, or qualification, that's there. Now, what will make a difference when you enter the door will be those subjective things. So if we are talking about dressing up, so plan what you will be wearing. Be intelligent when you are doing the purchasing bit of it, when you're buying stuff. It doesn't have to be the most expensive stuff. Be open and ask your friends and family about, how you're looking like. Is that suiting you or not? Are you comfortable? And obviously, you need to see if you're comfortable donning that attire. So all of those factors together will, and when you will enter the room, then you will feel more confident, because when you think that you're looking like the role, then you do, exude more confidence. So it is like that. And every organization that you will be going there for, try to understand the culture of that organization. Do a little research on the culture of the organization also. What is their expectation? So certain creative fields, obviously, I can roll my sleeves and sit there because I'm from a creative field. If I'm going in for a position in a finance department of a serious organization like Engro or Shell Pakistan or someone, I will be dressing differently. So just use that little IQ bit of it, and then the rest of it is all about a little preparation. And that'll make you feel more comfortable.
So your homework is very important. Where you're going, who you're going to meet, why you are going there, and what is your objective.
Yeah.
This is really important. You have to do your homework and take it very seriously. I think that when I entered into this field, another designer, a senior designer, said to me that, that you have to always look good. If you don't look good, that means you do not respect yourself, and you're not respecting the person whom you are going to meet. And it translates, believe me, it does translate. So if you know if you're going to a designer's, wanting to, you can be dressed flamboyantly or whatever. But if you're going to a conservative place, you have to be dressed conservatively. So you have to be very sure about what exactly you're going for.
This is a very important point. You have to actually be prepared in advance. You have to know, which organization you are going, and obviously it, shapes your organization's view about you. So let me just give you a very brief, take you through a journey of a chartered accountant. So most of us will agree that most of us are from humble backgrounds. We all have humble beginnings. And so we actually, start with this articleship where we have to, when I started off, I was told by one of my teachers, now you have to study 18 hours a day at least. So this is where we come from, and we know that we have to struggle, and 3.5 years, sometimes it extends if you don't qualify in time. You have to actually work. And at the same time, you have to study, and you have to make sure that you qualify in time to get that, qualification and start your professional life properly. And then when you, if I tell you my story, because we were constantly working or studying for these 3.5 years, I was, my social life was completely destroyed. I was not, even in my, my sisters were getting married, so I was not involved in designing dresses for myself. So this is where we come from. And when you join an organization, you do not know, especially for a woman, you do not know what the trend is going on and how you have to dress up. And obviously जो C profession है, इसमें आप थोड़े seniority और फिर obviously उस level पे जाते that you have to actually be very careful what you're dressing is, how you're portraying yourself. And then fortunately for me and for many chartered accountants, we promote to a senior level very, very early. So वो एक जो transition आता है ना, that also makes us confused as to how we should portray ourselves and how we should carry ourselves. And I think they also have their own stories about it.
Thank you, Sana. It is interesting to know that people who are from cities, they spend at least 14 hours while studying CA. So what will happen for people who are coming from very humble backgrounds, like people from villages? I personally will give an example that resembles with the chartered accountancy field. We have heard about trout. And trout swims against the current. So here in our profession, there are many trouts who are swimming against the current. People who are coming from villages, take my own example. I was born in a village. My father was a gardener, and he thought about uplifting his whole family. He actually dreamed about this thing that he is not going to sit and give the same life to his next generation. So he thought about this and he motivated me and my siblings. I'm a chartered accountant, my younger brother is CA finalist, and my youngest brother, he is SCCA and MBA from IBM. So we have a lot of success stories in our profession. I can clearly remember when I had the first interview at PwC, partner was shocked that you are coming from a village and how come you are dressed so well. So before going to that interview, one of my uncle, I visited him and he said that, beta, आप जब इंटरव्यू में जाते हो ना तो दो उसके स्टेजेस होते हैं, एक मुंह खोलने से पहले और एक मुंह खोलने के बाद. सही, तो अगर आपने मुंह बंद रखा है अपना और आपने फर्स्ट इंप्रेशन दे दिया है तो यू आर हाफ वे थ्रू दैट थिंग. एंड आई कैन take it as a good advice is still today, if you go into any kind of discussion, this is what happens. Say till the time your first impression is last impression. So I think that in our profession, people are coming from very humble backgrounds and people are coming from villages, and they come and they have successful stories here. So this is what we are building at our institute. So especially this topic, dressing up and grooming, professionally grooming, this is very important for our profession. Mansur.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Shahid. Actually, I would say that, like Iftikhar Saab mentioned, chartered accountants generally face this issue more than other professionals. So I think this is a significant factor about it. This is a beautiful certification that gives an opportunity to underprivileged people who are from lower class, from middle class, and majority, 70% of the chartered accountants are from those beginnings. And they've never had these exposures and these opportunities to groom themselves to be, good presentators. So I believe that is why we are lacking those skills, not because chartered CA certification is not offering these trainings, but because we've been through those backgrounds. So I would say, in fact, CA gives you a very good exposure in terms of the 3.5 years articleship that you have to spend on different various clients, you have to interact with people, get your work done. So that is a very good learning exposure, but we start, we are already, people have a head start already. So that's a very significant factor that we should consider. In fact, myself, when I was at that, brink where I had to decide about my career, so I was academically strong. I got into lumps and all of that, but I couldn't afford it back then, which is why I came to CA. And I am proud that I chose this path, and I won't change it now.
That's amazing. What great stories.
Yeah.
What great stories.
So,
Motivational stories. These type of stories are motivational.
So, Shayan, there is a question that comes to my mind that is particularly relevant to people who basically change. From a beginning, they change. Like when I went for first job, it was very difficult for me to put a three-piece suit. And the consideration like putting a three-piece suit, while like before that I was wearing kameez and shalwar, so I have to change. So what would you say about dressing up? What would be your consideration, like if you are coming from a different background and you have to adopt to a different culture? So how you will, so what you will advise for the next generation leaders?
Okay, actually what I would say is that no matter what your background is, where you have come from, we all come from the same culture. We do have one culture. But you definitely have to decide to be the best version of yourself. Whatever that is, whatever you're comfortable with, you don't have to change yourself drastically. Of course, if you're going for a corporate interview, you have to dress according to what the expectations over there are of you. That you have to do. But I still think that your version of yourself is more important than anything else. That is who you are. That's your personality. And that should never be taken away from anybody. And, I have worked for a decade, more than a decade, in villages. So I go around all over Pakistan to rural villages, and I train women there in skill development and entrepreneurship. So my first experience was quite, it really made me so happy, and I didn't think that they were detracting from their culture, is that when I went there, I was just wearing a shirt with a pant. Over there, everybody is wearing shalwars. And the next time I went there, they were learning stitching and all this. They were all in pants. It was such a, for me, I think it was an honor that they felt that, they could also dress in that way. So dressing for yourself is very important. And I think giving yourself time, because people don't think that they are important. You are extremely important. Give yourself that time. Get your outfit ironed, get it ready for your next day. And if you're going to an occasion, take out that time for yourself. You don't have to have an expensive outfit. You can even borrow a friend's outfit or whatever. But make sure that you look great and good in it. Nobody is going to ask you where you got your outfit. But it's important that you look good and comfortable. And when you're happy with yourself, you will generally be happy, people will be happy with you, and you will have that confidence.
Yeah, again, I would like to add something to this. This is really interesting. सबसे पहले कि मैं भूल जाऊं, जो आप बता रहे हैं, इस बैकग्राउंड का कोई इंसान ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में जाता है, they are dealing with, okay, so it's, I have to choose my words properly, I'm being recorded. You're dealing with entitled people. Most of the rest of the organization would be an entitled lot. So obviously आपका confidence वैसे ही खराब हो रहा है क्योंकि उनका तो वो अंग्रेजी भी एक्सेंट में बोल लेते हैं, वो उर्दू भी ऐसे ही बोल रहे हैं. So आप वहां जाके वैसे ही आपको लग रहा है कि कहाँ में alien environment में आ गए हम लोग corporate environment में. So I get what you are saying, but जो इंसान, जो community इतने मुश्किल हालात से जो आप बता रहे हो, ये तो स्टेज के ऊपर ही हमें 3 कहानियां पता लग गई हैं, उसको सरपास कर सकती है, उसको अपने आप को रोकने नहीं दिया उसने, तो ये तो कोई चेंजेस ही नहीं. The change, as Zafar Sahab again had said, change is something that for leadership positions to move forward in an organization, so change has to be embraced. It has to be embraced. But at the same time, as Shayan said, at your own pace. Emulating someone, copying someone in an organization is a different thing. Uske andar bhi ek had hoti hai jab tak wo it is in a zone of that it's flattery, and then it becomes creepy. If you are, trying to copy somebody too much. So mirroring, जैसे आजकल तो हम लोग जहाँ पे भी आप कोई भी text book खोलें तो उसमें mirroring होती है कि अगर if the stance of your boss is like this, then you also do that, so that there's comfort level. You're trying to find common grounds and all that. वो सब सही है, लेकिन जो लोग 14 घंटे पढ़ के बहन की शादी को attention ना देके गांव से आकर अंकल से पूछ के सूट पहन के नौकरियां लेके माशाल्लाह जहां जहां आप लोग जाते हैं, जहां जहां पहुंचे हुए, इससे बहुत आगे जाने की जरूरत है. तो अगर एक गिरती हुई दीवार को एक टक्का और तो थोड़ा सा
So basically what I understand from what you're saying is because you have to actually be confident of yourself. कि आपने जो कुछ achieve, it's not just
more effort.
Exactly.
Because you are not at an advantage point. हर एक के साथ अलग अलग चीज होती है. मुझे आप अपनी पोजीशन पे बिठा दिया, I will know nothing. But आपके पास वो advantage point अगर नहीं है as a community, then make that extra effort rather than accepting it. इसमें कोई rocket science नहीं.
और जैसे इफ्तिखार साहब ने कहा कि आप जो है ना, आप अपनी ब्रांड हो. Make your own brand. Decide कि आपकी ब्रांड क्या होनी चाहिए. Make it. It's up to you. आपको कोई जज नहीं करेगा. जब आपने अपनी पर्सनालिटी, अपनी ब्रांड बना ली, everyone will know कि ये आप हैं. So इसमें I don't think कि ज़्यादा इसके अंदर debate है इस चीज़ में.
So it's a be yourself.
Yes,
most
be
of the
yourself.
time. Yeah. So do we have more questions?
Okay, so from what I get from both of your from the discussion, is basically we have to adapt to the culture of the organization we are working in, and we have to be ourselves at the same time. We do not have to, be fake, and we don't have to copy something beyond our pace. Okay, so. Having said all of that, still, would you say that there are do's and don'ts of any, of the professional attire that we should not? So yeah, if you can.
That we should be careful about.
The do's and don'ts, of course, what do's and don'ts hai. First of all, don't wear very flashy makeup. That's for girls. And for
and boys.
And okay. And the other thing is be neat and tidy and give your personal grooming is very, very important. Nobody is going to want to come and talk to you if you haven't brushed your teeth or you have oil in your hair. Personal grooming is so important. It's just such a simple thing to make sure that at all times wear a light fragrance. There's no harm in it, and people will relate with you, and they will be, when people want to speak to you, be around you, you are on your leadership path anyway. So these things are really important. Don't be sloppily dressed. Don't walk around in chappals, although I do it all the time, but that's because I'm a designer and I can. It's my field, right? But Rasik normally wears sneakers. That's his field. He can do it, the people he's meeting. But I don't advise anyone in the corporate world to be roaming around in sneakers and chappals. So this is and don't be overly wanting to be within the fashion. I mean, if you're so fashionable and you think that you can wear the jeans which are torn and, looking great, no, you're not really. You have to be really conservative to the environment that you are within. That's one of the most important things. And a lot of good fitting clothes. And one thing is important. Try to make your attire, doesn't have to be expensive, but it should look new. It should not have the old look to it. And it's really easy to do. You can have a cotton outfit on, you can change your bag, your shoes, your accessories, and accessorize, but accessorize appropriately. Don't wear too, maybe you can't probably wear bangles to work. Or too many rings.
The ones that make sound, actually.
Yeah. So these are things which are important. Don't wear tight clothes which don't fit you. They're not going to make you feel comfortable anyway. And invest in good shoes, because you're going to be in your outfit from morning till evening. So make sure that you're comfortable at all times. And the one point which is important, which I think everyone should follow, is to wear clothes which don't crease easily. Because after 2 to 3 hours, if you're wearing this beautiful chicken curry outfit and it's like a crumpled thing at the end of 2 to 3 hours, it's not worth it.
It happens a lot with the girls, actually.
It does, right? So yeah, these are the few things that one should make sure. And do all your preparations for your outfit a night before, so that at the last minute you're not running around taking out things and which you're not happy with, and you may be at work and you won't be happy. Always be happy in whatever you are wearing.
And I think I won't repeat what all Cheyenne said. Same rules apply on guys, especially when you're in the corporate environment as a chartered accountant. It is important that you conservative ही side पे tilt करें, not too fashionable. So a lot of people I've seen कि वो बाकी सब तो वो जो पतले pointy लंबे जूते जो दूसरे की टेबल पे लग रहे होते हैं, don't do eccentric stuff when you're dressing up in this position, because again you're continuously looking at positions higher than yours. You're not just working for your position, you are dressing up for your qualification, not for your position in the organization. So even when you enter an organization, you're still a leader. You're still a leader. Leadership की informal leaders भी होते हैं, formal leaders भी होते हैं. But you have to make sure that if we are talking and focusing on dressing up, let it be conservative, as Cheyenne again said, applies on men. Not too tight, not too loose, just regular stuff. शाइनी वो शादी का सूट जो हम बारी बारी उसमें मीटिंग में पहन के चले जाते हैं, चमक चुका होता है, उसको वो नहीं करें. Let it look new. It doesn't have to be expensive. Keep an extra jacket just in case there's a board meeting में आपको जाके कुछ बोलना पड़े. Put it on. You look smart. So that little things.
One thing I would like to add is, don't be afraid of color. Color is something which makes our country. And we should be able to wear color. We don't have to ape the West and just wear our grays and browns. We can wear color. They look great, even for gentlemen. You can wear a yellow tie if you like, or you can wear a lilac tie. It just looks really good, or a lilac shirt. So it doesn't have to be white and blue.
Yeah.
You can wear color, and I think that your color style will make your statement of your personality as well. Don't be afraid of things. Don't be afraid to be attractive and stylish. So just go with the flow.
Embrace it.
Embrace it. Yeah.
Very, very important point you have mentioned. इस सारी बात है भी कि लीडर के लिए ना, because people, you have to be, जो कहते हैं ना, charisma. For you to have a charisma, you have to actually portray certain personality. Because leader वही होता है when people are able to and would want to follow you. So that's what actually makes you a leader. Shahid, you have a question? We're done with the question. Okay, I do have a question. Because we talk a lot about leadership. So what is actually the leadership attitude? So what is the leadership attitude? What is the leader's attitude?
Okay. So there is no one set definition of a leader. We can all exhibit different leadership qualities and have different leadership styles and work towards the same goal. End result ये होता है कि you want organizations जो भी goal है वो उसमें believe करें, लोग believe करें, तो जो आपके EQ वाले हैं और IQ वाले हैं उनके अलग-अलग approaches होंगे depending on who is the leader. जो empathy show करके लोगों को अपनी side पे लाके, any person or individual who can show and share a vision and make people believe in it is a leader. however they do it. We all have our different styles. I am more about just say a leader will not shy away from. But again, if I start on this, there are a million definitions of what a leader qualities are for a leader. But basically, to get what the end result should be done by people, investing in people so that they believe in that, you show them the real picture and you make them motivated enough to, and again, I'm repeating what all I just heard in the, that was all a summary of that. So, उस सब के अंदर अगर आप, again I'll bring it back to grooming, उसके अंदर अगर आपकी grooming distraction है, that's not going to help. That's not going to help because you are in a position to, when you're addressing an audience, and your audience could be your co-workers, it could be जो भी है आपके कंपनी में जिनके साथ आप काम कर रहे हैं और वो फोकस ये कर रहे हैं कि इसके तो बटन टूटे हुए हैं या ये तो क्रम्पल्ड कपड़ों में खड़े होके बोल, तो it becomes more difficult for that, and you could be a very knowledgeable but yet not get that respect then. So don't let that be a distraction.
And I'd like to add one thing is that don't be afraid of emulating someone who you look up to. You know, it's a leadership quality in itself to be able to decide, okay, this is the person that I want to be like when I'm older. Or because when you yourself coming to that leadership role, there are going to be people who follow you, they follow you, your style, the way you conduct yourself. That is one of a very important things. So don't feel that, oh, I'm not going to be like that person because I might appear. If you feel comfortable with your boss or whoever is your senior, if you're comfortable with them and you want to be like them, don't be shy of it. You can follow them because later people are going to follow you. You are going to be a mentor for someone else. So let someone be a mentor for you because this is how you learn. This is the whole cycle of learning and growing. So you just need to let your growth take place without inhibitions.
Thank you very much. I think Hina has a question she'd like to ask.
How important is that?
I did actually.
But I'm not like, what is that? Like how, when you wear the clothes, when you wear, what kind of shoes you should be wearing?
Actually, I did mention that don't walk around in chappals, but I said that. No, it's really important to invest in a good, I think more important than your attire to invest in, it's more important to invest in your shoes. That is what's going to make you feel comfortable for the whole day. Closed shoes are a great option because again, it gives a very poised look. And if you can carry your heels off, well, good luck to you. And the same with the gentlemen, their shoes are important. They need to be really polished. And you need to wear matching socks because these are things which are really important. People do look at your shoes. And one thing are your hands. Your hands have to be manicured all the time, clean. It doesn't, but you know, these are things which are important. And if you do really want to wear open shoes which show your feet need to be really well groomed and really taken care of. This is just a personal grooming thing which you have to take care of.
Thank you very much. This has been a very insightful session, especially for me. I think we might have some questions from the audience. Saira, would you like to, do you have the questions? Do you have the questions from the audiences? Okay, so we took a poll and so the results are, the question was, in a meeting, how much does the attire and appearance of a person in charge impacts your opinion about what he represents? So 41% of the people says that up to 70% it matters, right? And for 36% people say that, it matters up to 50%, while 19% people think that up to 100%. It matters a lot. That means at least. So the next question was, how much do you think corporate culture impacts your dressing? And 48% of the people think that up to 70%, right? Which is again a good number. And 37% people think that up to 100%. So yes, corporate culture, like you, Raseek and Shayan mentioned, that you have to be aware of where you are going and what company you are representing. So you have to dress up accordingly. So these are the questions. Sarah, do we have any questions from the audiences? Yes. Yeah, please.
Sana, Shahid, and I thank you all for the participation.
Thank you very much.
And now I would call on the stage for some question and answers. You want to both stay for all the panelists.
Oh.
Wow. Some interesting questions have come your way. We cannot cater to all because of time limitation, but a few we have selected. Okay. This is a question. Sorry, I don't have the name of the person, but anyway, sir, how do you see the role of a leader evolving in a post-COVID scenario when more and more companies are shifting to remote work scenarios, limiting the physical interaction and restricting the interaction activities? This can pose a challenge to the leaders to maintain the emotional engagement and their teams and also keep them feel valued and motivated in getting through the digital times.
Okay, so this is a question about COVID. I'm a bit out of touch. And I want to be very candid about it because I'm essentially now a retired guy. I operate from my house, just relax. I'm loving it because I'm on several boards. I do all my board meetings at home. Sometimes I'll wear a tie, but I'll keep my pajamas on. And I will do the board meeting, 3 hours, 4 hours meeting with Islamabad, some global with New York, and so on and so forth. COVID obviously is impacting all of us, and some changes are bound to happen. And I think one of the best things COVID has done is Zoom. I'm a great fan of Zoom now. Don't have to travel to Islamabad, spend a whole night in a hotel and then this, for a 1 hour, 2 hour meeting. You're just doing it there. Many people are working from home. They find they're equally productive. They can balance things better. But at the end of the day, that people interaction also is exceedingly important. You see, if it's all remote and all that, kaam to chal jayega, but where will the relationships be? And all these pleasures of meeting people, interacting, building relationships, they will begin to wear out. So I think thoda sa pendulum zara idhar shift ho gaya, partly because of health concerns, but I think it will come back, maybe not fully. Some new ways of working will happen, and organizations and corporations are going to see how it impacts the bottom line, where they can save, and that's how the whole arrangement is going to work. I mean, for example, one other example of COVID, which many of us seen, I have a daughter who works in the US, and so she came home for a month, and she used to work from like something like 5 o'clock till 2:30 in the morning. So for us, it was such a pleasure. She was there the whole month. We let her do whatever she wanted in those hours, but we got the weekends together and so on. So these are the new ways that things are happening. And I quizzed her quite often. I said, do you feel happy with the work, the output of the work? She said, awfully busy. But then give you another example. I've decided I'm not teaching at IBA until I can go and interact in person. Somehow teaching at home, because one semester I have to take 28 classes. And to do it all on Zoom, where sometimes you can't even see the student, you don't even know if they are listening, or video be off ho gaya, whether they are there or not there, वो reaction नहीं मिलता, you know that, so उसके वो implications भी हैं. So, but bottom line, it's a reality. We have to adapt. We have to take the good parts of it. And I think the pendulum will come back a little bit, and maybe we'll be better off as a consequence.
The other question is also for you. In case of leadership, where as a manager superior, we are bound to follow some organization policies such as bell curve for performance appraisals, where we have to bring staff under the curve, even when all the team members are performing well. Some government rules such as change staff to local, national, but existing staff is very good. Such factors affect leadership skills. How do you propose to manage leadership skills good both for the organization and for the employee in such scenarios?
Well, you know, I'll again express a bias I have. I believe in the bell curve. Very simple. Maybe because I grew up in a culture that had the bell curve. And when I went to PIA for the time I was there, when it was time for the annual appraisals, I called the HR manager, well, a little before the annual appraisals, and I said, you know, we have to do the annual appraisals of our leadership team, etc. So what process are we going to follow? So he looks at me, I won't name him because you all know who he is. He said, masla kuch nahi hai ji, sabko barabar ka kar dein bas. Give everybody the same increments and same everything. I said, what? I said, I've been here only for a short while, but I can see some people are really working hard and making an effort to do something for the airline. And I can see quite a few people who do nothing, absolutely nothing. I can't fire them because it's public sector, but they're not adding any value. And you're telling me give everybody the same thing? Unacceptable. So bell curve ke issues hain, but people have learned how to work with the bell curve. There is also this concept of 360-degree appraisal that some of you must have heard. That in many ways sort of neutralizes some negative parts of bell curve. But bell curve does not mean you fire people. It can, but it doesn't have to. But bell curve does make you differentiate who's good, who's the best, and who is not measuring quite up. Because those who are not measuring quite up, you can't just keep sweet talking them. You have to do something for them. How do you make them improve their performance? If you're a good leader, that'll be your focus. And of course, those who are doing well, how can you reward them even more? How can you make them move faster? What job assignments and rotations can you give them to help their grooming and development skill? So performance management is crucial. Bell curve plays a role. You can be ruthless, like some were in the United States. If you're at the bottom of the bell curve, you lose your job. You don't necessarily have to do it every year. Once in a while, yes, maybe there are people who are repeatedly at the bottom. You get, for the sake of the organization, I think bell curve is good.
We have a question for Shayan now. Yeah. What are the views on using national dressing if one needs to be one's own nature and style? Do you really need to go for purely Western dresses? Our Prime Minister is a classic example.
Yes, you don't have to go for Western dresses. You can go for your own national dresses. Absolutely, I agree with that. Our national dress is very elegant. So and I think most of our ladies anyway wear our national dress. Everyone is in a shalwar kameez and a dupatta.
No, actually this question came because you told, responding to Shahid, that you have to go by the company's culture where you are going. So actually,
okay, yeah, according to the company's culture, yes, definitely. You see, every company has their own rules, and that's the way that they expect their employees working there to be dressed. That you have to follow the company. They decide. You can't decide to go against that. If you go against that and feel like, this is my culture, I want to wear my Pathani chappal with all the different colored little balls on it or something, it will not be accepted. So our culture, as I think the ladies get away with just wearing your own culture, but definitely gentlemen have to wear the culture with which their company expects from them. If it's trousers and a jacket and a tie, that's it. You have to wear that.
Okay, can I just add to that and what she said? Dekhiye ji, if you are going into a company jiska jo bhi culture hai, dress code, just stay with dress code for a minute. If you don't really like it, don't join the organization. How long will you, for you to enter there and suddenly think you can now transform that whole thing? If there is a tie jacket culture there and work there for some years, maybe you go to position of leadership, then you can work on the system and change it. But otherwise, don't go there. Why do you want to make yourself uncomfortable and that organization? And one other point, I'll give you another good example. Everybody knows Asad Umar, right? I think, right? So Asad was a colleague of mine, and when Asad ko hum logon ne banaya CEO of one of our subsidiaries, so one Friday, I don't know, I happened to go there and I saw he's wearing jeans and everybody else somebody's in tennis shoes and this, that, the other. I said, what the hell is going on? Because that wasn't our corporate culture. So Asad said to me, he said, Zafar, badi is pe research hui hai. Dress se thinking pe asar padta hai. To humne ye decide kiya hai ki Friday ke din, unless kisi external customer वगैरह से मुलाकात है, we will dress casual, no tie, nothing, because that's the creative time. And I said, what a good idea, just go do it. So something like that is fine. Now he changed the corporate culture, but obviously he was a CEO of that subsidiary at the time, but he used his mind. There was a reason, there was a logic. So ye cheezein ho jati hain, evolution bhi hoti hai. But otherwise, Engro mein, at least for the time that I was there, wahan bhi change ho gaya. You had to wear a tie. So I always wore a tie. And because of that habit, when I go to teach at IBA, you ask my students, I always wear a jacket and a tie when I go to teach. Most of the faculty, vast majority of IBA faculty does not. They dress casually. They're smartly dressed, but casually dressed. So har ek apna wo hota hai, you get comfortable with, and that's it.
Now we have a question that has been specifically asked for Razik, but I would also like your input at the end to this. Okay, now the question is, what do you think about Mark Zuckerberg and other CEOs of Fortune 500 companies who wear simple clothes every day at work? Also, in your opinion, Google and other companies who have adopted the culture of informal and comfortable dressing?
Just answer. I think Zafar Saab just answered that. So when a leader gets into a position of leadership, you can change. And that's what those guys did. They created but that is their culture. So if I want to, I'm just reversing exactly what Zafar Saab said. If I want to wear a suit and a tie at work, and I'm joining Apple, and they sit on the floor with black t-shirts and torn jeans, I should not. Because I'll make them uncomfortable, they'll make me that is the decision that we take. The point is, जो भी corporate culture है, उसको study करें आप. जो हमने interview के time पे भी कहा था, study the corporate culture, the code over there, and then you go and be prepared for it. So that would be the answer.
Already answered that. I think, yeah, fine. Same.
Yeah,
you can change that. Well, it was a very interesting discussion, a very interesting session. And before I call Muniza to give a vote of thanks, I would especially like to mention the contribution of Khurshid Kotwal, who was not only instrumental in conceiving the whole idea of the program, but was the force behind the execution of the same. And now I call Muniza. She is a partner KPMG and a member of CA Women Committee.
I just want to say something that I got to know her when she was working with Unilever, and she was a driver there, and I think she's a driver here as well.
And she
Good,
still
good
is a
on you,
driver over
Khurshid.
here too.
Still is a driver.
Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I've been asked to give the closing remarks, and my God, it's been such a useful session. You know, it covered such an important aspect of one's professional career and life. I believe that academics are like the building blocks of one's career, but thereafter one needs to equip, oneself with appropriate leadership and grooming skills. Just to recount some of the key takeaways from the esteemed panelists as well as the speakers, I'd like to start with Mr. Iftikhar Taj. He very valuably commented that all chartered accountants are a reflection of the firm and they are ambassadors of the institute at large. And we must remember that at all times, in all conducts that we perform. Mr. Zafar Khan very valuably shared his personal experience of what went well for him, emphasizing on mobility, diversity of jobs, teamwork, open communication, recognition of merit. All these are basically ingredients of good leadership skills, and of course, the 10-9-0 rule. Razik, we appreciate your comment about embracing your, change at your own pace. And Shayan, who commented that irrespective of your background, you need to be the best version of yourself. You need to be comfortable with yourself and be confident. I'd like to quote Damon John over here. He's an American motivational speaker. He once said, "Good grooming is integral. An impeccable style is a must. If you don't look the part, no one will want to give you time or money." So I guess this summarizes the whole session pretty well. In the end, we'd like to thank the CA Women Committee, especially the part that Khurshid Kotwal, Bushra Iqbal, Safinaz, Kausar Safdar, and Talat Fatma for their unconditional support to the session. We'd like to thank Nazia and Zarmeen and the whole IT staff of ICAP who supported us. In the end, we end with gratitude to our esteemed speakers and panelists, Mr. Zafar Khan, Shayan, Razik Khan, Shahid Hussain, and also Mansab. Thank you so much.
We would like to be on the stage for a few more minutes. I would like to call the President, Mr. Iftikhar Taj, and Hina Usmani, the Chairperson of ASEA Women Committee. Yes, and we would like to give some token of appreciation for taking out the valuable time. Zabt.
Thank you very much.
And now please, Shayan. हाँ रास रास Thank you all for your time. Thank you so much. वो सब गाड़ी में Yes, देना है क्यों आप लेंगे ना you have taken out so much time for us. अच्छा please I would invite all the team to come up. Please Sana, Shahid, आ जाए नहीं मुनीजा come on, Muniza, Bushra, come, everybody. Because this was the force behind the whole program. Everybody really put their best to bring this program. हाँ, please, Zarmeen was very helpful. Without Zarmeen, then the program was, and of course Nazia, online Nazia. Maria, आ जाओ।
Visibility मिलती नहीं देनी पड़ती है ये आपका लिख देना है
Thank you so much. Thank you very much.